Chitab kolenjin itakat missing ketaun kebeberta nebo oeng nebo tetutietab Ikweny emet neitun kila ko oeng kasi ong'eten ketesiet nebo Kass TV en studio miten akane Victor Korir ak emiten ak tondenyon Daktari Isaac Kalua Green. Inendet ko chi nemoton missing en chong'indo nebo biikab emoni missing ko biikab kutit amun en boisiet neo missing neyoe inendet netinye ak ribetab itonwekab emet ak tugun cheu chon kora miten kotuchigei ak polotet. Kobaten imitab rani kemoche ketaun tetutioni keng'alalen akobo yautik chekotestai keboronjin emetab Kenya missing ko chetinyegei ak ng'oyondit nemiten en ortinwekyok kokobit nyasutik chechang missing chebo ortinwek. Ako imitab rani ketindoi Dr. Kalua en studio asikimuch keng'alalen akobo noto. Daktari, itakat missing en ketesiet nebo Kass TV.
Kongoi. Kongoi
kabisa. And I know that might be the most of what you can speak in Kalenjin, a few other things, but thank you for your time. Thank you for making time to come and be with us in Kass TV. This show is called Ikweny Emet. It literally means shining a spotlight on, the country. So we pick issues that are of concern currently, current affairs, and we try to delve into them a bit. So we get guests like yourself. We come and discuss these issues, and tonight our spotlight is shining on our roads, and I know this is something that you're passionate about, road safety. And of late, it's not a new thing in Kenya. Our accidents are our roads are very, very unsafe. And not a day or two pass by without, news reaching us on our social media, on our TV screens that, a bus, a matatu, a lorry has crashed into another one, things like that. Just the other day, students of Kenyan University lost their lives when their bus, got an accident. And while we were thinking about this issue about road carnage, we stumbled upon something, a piece of an article that you wrote, to put down your thoughts about this issue about road safety. And there are three things that you mentioned, and those three are, human beings, the human element in all this chaos. There are people at the center of it all. There is the infrastructure, and of course there is the machines, the vehicles themselves. Just to start us off, when you talk about the human element being the paramount when trying to understand and probably resolve this issue of road accidents in Kenya, from your point of view, what does that entail?
First of all, thank you so much for having me, Arab Korir.
It's a pleasure.
I sincerely appreciate you.
Yes.
And I want to thank the chairman of Kass FM, CK Joshua, and the entire team for the good work that you are doing. In this country, we all need just to take our space and make the change that we would like to see.
Yeah.
And therefore, having me here is a great honor. I don't take it for granted. Kongoi missing.
You're welcome.
And you raise a very important issue. And let me first of all draw a picture of what is happening in the country. It has been reported that we are losing 4,000 people every year. Tukimaliza tu kenyit nelel 4,000
people.
And you can imagine 4,000 people over 10 years, that is 40,000 people. According to the statistics and the Institution of Statistics in Kenya, Kenya Bureau of Statistics,
yes,
they say one household in Kenya is equivalent to about 3.9 people.
Yeah.
That means we are losing, if in 10 years we have lost about 10,000 households.
That's a lot.
If this does not make anybody wake up, it's like an entire village
Wiped out
completely.
Yeah.
It is a number of aircrafts that have come down with people. It is train that we use to Mombasa.
Yeah, the express train.
The express one, and getting definitely down. So we need to wake up and ask ourselves, what is this that we are doing wrong? You ask a very good question. What are these human elements that we are talking about?
Yes.
I'll give you an example. Just now as I was coming to the studio, along Karen Road near a place, the junction where there is Sitam Karen.
Yeah.
We were following with my driver a driver that we didn't understand what is wrong. He's driving he almost caused 4 different accidents within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
He's getting to the left, to the right. He obviously was not himself. We hooted so that he can sober up.
Yeah.
And as we overtook him, he was shouting at the top of his voice. Clearly he was drunk. A father who is risking to get into a car drunk. Last week, and thank you so much for reading my articles. I think I am guilty of that. That is why you got me to the studio today.
Yes.
And last 2 weeks, we were along Mombasa Road. And there was heavy traffic at night, just near Imara Daima. We are following a gentleman. We didn't know what the traffic was about, only to find that it was a guy who was so drunk, he drove his car mpaka ikakwama Mombasa Road, katikati. Akasimama tu hapo na akalala. We got close just to try and see the curiosity that, because you could be leaving your own person, your own family friend. We went to just try and see what's happening. The guy was just drunk, sleeping on the wheel. And he wakes up, anauliza ako wapi, na anaanza safari tena. Clearly, how do we get ourselves drunk to that level? Why touch a car when you are drunk?
Yeah.
Human factor. When you're so tired, why would you want to touch the car? You have not slept enough. You only slept for 2 hours. You are there driving the car. You have family issues that you know very well your mind is not right, and therefore you are bound to make some judgment on the road that is not right, including overtaking from a corner.
Yeah.
How would you survive? You are there. You know very well that you can stop the car, text whoever you have to text, pick the phone that you have to pick, and get back to the road.
Yeah.
But you're the same person who is doing that. And you know, these things, it's not one person to blame. It is all of us. We do them. We just survive by God's grace. I used to be a drunkard in the 90s. And I know that I had a car, Toyota Carib, KAC025L. It knew its way home. After I got drunk, it would get me home.
And take
somehow.
You home.
And you get home and you can't even stand.
But you found
I thank God that
home.
He removed me from such that is excessive. And I know that there are people also who are suffering who could be in that situation, and I'm sure God can remove them from such a situation. But you can imagine those are things that we continue to do that are human related.
Yes.
We can avoid them. There are many things that we can be able to do to avoid some of these accidents. But you cannot assume that people know. We need education. Okay. We need to let people know why it is dangerous, how you can avoid. We were just talking earlier on with Levi that a lot of accidents in this country are pedestrians.
Yeah.
You find that there is a footbridge, there are places you can check and cross, but you find the 4,000 people are dying. Some of them, most of them are on foot.
Yeah.
There is a time Susan, my wife, and I found an accident of a motorcycle, and somehow I never leave any accident scene of a motorcycle because I'm guilty. I make motorcycles. I'm the chairperson of Honda in Kenya. And therefore I'm responsible, and also I'm chairman of Motorcycle Assemblers Association. So any accident is my product in motorcycles. So I try to help. I try to speak to them. We need to be able to explain people, to teach them, to train them, to have processes in school, to let people know. Even when you are old, in some countries, you are not allowed to drive unless you are tested regularly. In UK, after 70 years, you have to be tested like every 3 years. Some of the issues that we have is also health. I was surprised. I was speaking to the Director General of NTSA, who, together with the team, they are doing a lot despite our vindication and a lot of things that we keep saying about them that are not right. They are trying under the circumstances, right? And he told me, out of 100 people who are tested on their eyesight and health, only 10 pass.
Out of 100?
Yes.
That's a 10%.
That, I quote the Director General of NTSA. Out of 100. Only 10 can pass sight test and other health factors. And it is even worse. And you see why I'm saying that we need not to really press on NTSA a lot. They have put a lot of effort in the public sector.
Yes.
And for sure, when they put a law on or a rule regarding public transport, two drivers to drive within a long distance, that has reduced. But you see now schools is increasing. Because there was a blind space in that. Nobody cared so much about this space. And in school is where you find very old people that went to retire.
And old buses.
And very old buses that are now driving. So focus. And you see, leave it also. And we are not talking about what the Minister Murkomen is doing a good job. I listened to him the other day. I said, salutation, my Laptani. Because he said that he doesn't want to become a Michuki.
Yes, he did.
He wants to be the person who will be judged. Today, through a camera, he knows the car that has crossed the speed, the speed limit. Through a camera, and he's good. This is where the future is. So we are not talking about those things because I'm sure the future is bright. And
actually, he mentioned something about the human element too.
Yes,
he talked about people somewhere in Eldoret or wherever. He mentioned something like a person is in a boda, himself, the rider, his wife, and his 2 children. All of them in one bike. And when something happens, unfortunately an accident or something, the people don't question these victims. They ask, where is Murkomen? Where is the government? Where is NTSA?
Imagine. So you can imagine and how bad that it can be when you don't check on these things. It is only in Kenya that we have a rider of motorcycle training about how to ride a motorcycle in 42 minutes. The next thing, amepata deposit, he goes to pay for 15,000 kwa credit company. He gets a motorcycle and he rides on a new motorcycle. Oblivious of what can happen to anybody, and then mwananchi tu anaingia tu.
You have no clue.
Anaangalia hii inakaa safi sana, ni pikipiki mpya. Gebe bwana ama chenebo neo.
The new one.
The new one. Gebe. Jamaa hajawahi kuona ng'ombe ikiwa kwa barabara. How you can react when a cow is on the road. Mama na watoto ndani ya kichaka na fence. You can imagine. And the 4,000 people we are talking about, Korir, these are only the dead. The people in hospital
who survive.
Seriously. Like an accident. Is it Murkomen who is going to come and help us?
No.
It is
he cannot
us.
enforce these things.
I enforced a rule in Honda that you cannot buy a motorcycle without showing your driving license. And any dealer who is found selling that is guilty. And we can even go to levels that we can cancel. That is my prayer. And for sure, we spoke to all the dealers of Honda. And they agreed, Chairman, we agree. Let us save these people. Guy, that you don't have the money, but you save lives. You don't rush to have money.
You see, Dr. But the problem is I might buy a motorbike from you. I am licensed. But since business is booming, I buy a second one. Now this second one, I give to my brother, my cousin, my neighbor, whom I trained on my own for like a day or two.
Yes.
And
42 seconds, 42 minutes.
We are making money, you know. And then somehow people who do not have the qualifications always end up behind the wheel.
It's true.
Especially pale mashinani.
And that is something. Sasa, that is where there needs to be explanation. The 40,000 people over the 10 years that have died, the 10,000 families that have lost their loved ones, it needs to be drilled in the minds of people. Ukienda upande pikipiki, hauna helmet. You don't know, you know very well this guy may not be knowing how to ride a bike.
He's drunk. Most times you
ikianza kupita wewe mwenyewe ndio unasema wacha unasikia harufu. I told you we found a motorcycle accident with my wife Susan. Kwenda kuinua huyu mtu tuweke kwa gari because our journey had to end, tujaribu tuokoe huyu mtu. We took them to Kitui General Hospital. The guy was so drunk, Korir.
Wow.
And he was the one driving the bike, honestly. Sio ni kama tu kupatia nyoka kidole ikuume ama kuweka nini kwa shingo.
Passenger atakuja apande, atasikia harufu, and the passenger will not be like, look, I think I'll have to look for another one.
You can imagine.
Unabahatisha na maisha yako.
And that's the way. Unapata mtu anasema ati Ruto asaidii barabara. Ruto atasaidia mpaka kwa nyumba yako, honestly.
No.
So we need to start training our people. We need to, and it is those who are listening. And actually, I think you're doing your thing. I did my thing by writing the article.
Yes.
You read the article. You have called me here because of this article. Someone who is listening to our program and discussion should be able to say, kutoka leo, mimi sitapanda pikipiki angalao yenye iko na aina mtu ako na helmet ama ana helmet. Ama mtu anajibebea helmet kama Uganda na watu wengine. You get to it in the vehicle, in the boda, unaanza kuingia pale. So that you save your life. Hata kama ujipendi, tunakupenda woye.
Na hizi barabara, I mean, daktari, there is, apart from boda, even this, public transport vehicles, matatus, especially jioni, wakati kuna nyesha, early morning, that rush, you find capacity ya gari imejaa.
Exactly.
But the conductor is busy calling people waingie. Now, I don't blame the conductor because yeye anatafuta pesa. That guy who's being called anaambiwa kusimama ni half the price or something. And munajazana kwa aisle ya gari. Na
hiyo ni human factor. Si maneno ya gari.
Unaangalia unajua gari imejaa.
Wakati ambapo umesukumwa mpaka kwa kona ya probox hapa mbele imeingia watu waine, mkono iko nje umejishikilia hivi.
Na sasa gari ni automatic, so you don't need the
kiatu
gear.
Huyu jamaa neighbor yako iko chini ya brake.
Hapana.
Ukikanyaga utakanyaga mguu yake. Honestly.
And people don't say no. Mtu anakuambia ingia.
So these are the things that we need to speak in the church, in the mosques. Mahali yoyote tunakutana watu wakienda kwaya. Gaigai, chunga maisha yako. Hata kama ujipendi, tunakupenda. Watoto wako wanakutarajia. Ukiwa mlevi wachana ati unangojea alcohol itasaidia nani? Ni wewe tu.
And also, I think
safety belt, you need to have it. You are not wearing it because of the police. Maima no.
And people, it's unfortunate. Aside from the KU accident, also recently in Bomet, there was another accident. A matatu, 14-seater. Imetoka sites za Mauche. imepitia pale nyuma, pale inatokea Bomet huko Mugango huko ndani, somewhere along the road accident, people died. You know, the survivors now were talking about this vehicle was overloaded. So unajua pale sasa ni people are carrying food stuff. You know, anasema mahindi. Kulikuwa na magunia mahindi chini ya gari kwa floor. Kuna mahindi juu. Na ndani we are like over 20 people.
Imagine.
Then definitely brakes ina fail.
Like a fail.
Yes.
Na on top of that una overspeed.
Yes.
And you know, one of the things yenye Korir that we really need to do is to retrain. Mimi niko tayari kurudi shule. Nifanyishwe mtihani tena, nikumbushwe kuendesha gari, if that is what is going to take, because most of the people license tuliletewa kwa nyumba. Because ulikuwa na shilingi 2,000, 3,000 wakati hiyo. Kono bwana ongen ngalega kari.
Si unajua umejifunza na tractor huko kwa shamba.
Magia agenge akayen kwanza mi nebo nini nguno. Nebo auto. Kijiko tu peke yake alafu wewe enda uniletee license.
Unalipa,
but license mingi. So tukisikia hiyo kitu ikitajwa tusipige serikali.
And Murkomen mentioned that thing a while back, and people really
and he needs to be supported,
really,
and it has to start with this community even as we go elsewhere. That ingen gosamis moriat kobokot nebo.
Yes.
Lazima kuribchi chi nebo ka ak chemoget ak ngo. So you start with yourselves. Isikue kelele ikisemekana now it is retraining.
Yes.
That wanataka pesa ingine ya kufanya nini, ni ukora. Ukora na watu 4,000 wanakufa.
Yeah.
If 4,000 people don't shock you every year, what will?
And it's always ajali lifanyika kuna watu until it gets to you.
Until it gets.
Yes.
Mazishi itakuwa na utasikia na unasikia huyo kijana aligongwa na baiskeli, huyu aligongwa na pikipiki, huyu alikuwa anatembea peke yake kwa barabara, huyu alikuwa anafanya nini. So the human factor, as you say, is something that we really need to take seriously, and we need to take it not ngalegab serikali. It is survival. Our own thing.
Yeah.
It is survival.
We need to
you
value
imagine
our
watoto
lives.
Umezaa wanakutegemea, alafu unaenda tu unafanya kitu ya kishenzi hapo.
Unapoteza maisha and then you affect maisha ya watu wengine.
Unaanza kutembea kwa barabara, una text watu, uko kwa WhatsApp na unapitia kwa barabara. Utakosa aje kugongwa.
So it's basically this thing needs to be about personal responsibility.
Personal responsibility. If you find yourself hata kwa familia, ukijipata kila wakati wewe ndio unakumbushwa ati iko bump, hiyo ni notice kubwa sana kwako.
Yes.
That you need to be able to know kama kuiona ama kufanya nini. Of course there are other factors, but if you find that your eyesight is a problem, ikifika saa 12
your co-driver is always
weka tu hapo gari, lala, kesho iko safari unaweza kuendelea and you'll be okay.
Yes. So that's
the human. Yes.
And I think I've seen in other countries, I don't know if it's possible to implement such, in Kenya, but in other countries mtu umeenda kwa bar, umekunywa pombe yako. At some point yule mwanakuzia pombe, he looks at you and is like, no, wewe umekunywa sana. When it's time for you to leave, somehow wanakukataza kudrive. They tell you, you know what, I'm calling you a cab, here are your keys, kujia kesho. And those, you go, but I don't know how practical that is.
When my Laptani Arab Murkomen comes up with the laws that is now working on the system processes, I think it's going to be very easy. Some of these things will just simply die away, because in some countries, Japan for instance, if you cross the line, if you have a mistake, your license unapunguziwa points. So you have like 100 points.
to start with.
Every time there is a small mistake, maybe 10 points go. There are some mistakes that are bigger, like talking to the phone while driving, maybe inatolewa some 30 points or something. So when it gets to 0, you are not allowed to drive for the next 2 years.
Wow.
You are banned from the road and driving for 2 years. And they will catch up with you if you are driving. Cameras are there.
Yeah.
Your registration is known, and somehow they will catch. Or your people, your neighbors will tell on you.
Yeah.
So it's very easy. When you're drunk, you don't touch the car. Outside, now like in Japan, they have people waiting outside. Unakomboa dereva, wanakufuata na gari yao, wakikufikisha wanarudi na gari yao.
Yes.
So it's very simple. So because you don't want to make a mistake, when you get a receipt, unaambiwa ukuje ulipe tarehe fulani. Ikipita by a day, inaanza kupanda. Na kama hujaonekana within a specific period, say 3 months, the police will knock at your door. And you have to pay, and pay handsomely, and you can go to jail. So these are things that we need to prepare ourselves for, because 4,000 people in a year is not allowed.
In fact, I think by now it's almost over 1,000 in the first 3 months.
Yes, 3,000 something. Yeah. You can imagine it was the highest in the season.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how bad it can be. So this, what the NTSA and Murkomen is working on, I think is going to change a very big way. But even changing, because wananchi ataenda Wayakiwe. Iko ukuta wamewekewa, but unakuta mtu ameruka mpaka juu.
Wanatafuta mwanya between those blocks. Then unaona watu wanachungulia and you see people really speed. Mtu umetoka ile barabara ya Nakuru ama ya Narok, when you get to Wayakiwe ni barabara mzuri.
Exactly.
You feel like umefika nyumbani. So you really pedal to the unakanyaga. Then out of nowhere unaona kichwa imetokea hivi kwa blocks. Then you're like, and it takes just a second.
You can imagine.
And people can lose their lives.
Yeah.
So people need to, I think sometimes, like the time when we lost people in Londiani, and leaders walifika pale, DP Rigiji alifika pale, MPs walifika, Murkomen was there, people, I mean it was a whole thing, paka fundraiser ikafanywa nini. But after that, nobody picked up from there and used that as a launching pad to really sensitize people about this traffic problem. Because now I'd assume that maybe NTSA or the ministry would now use that one, while people's attention is still on that issue, to really drive that point home.
It's true. Yeah? It's true.
So I think maybe in future we look at ways of, we don't wait for accidents to happen so that we can use them as, people are now glued to the screens watching developments, accident, then we now link in our, public messages. Maybe just do a ongoing thing.
Ongoing. And training people and everyone taking responsibility. Whether you are driving on the road, last 2 weeks, I think, I was following a truck ya mafuta. I think brakes zilikuwa zimejam. So ilikuwa inatoa moshi mingi mpaka inafunika the whole truck. And people are just passing. So I had to try as much as possible to stop the driver,
to signal
because
him.
Maybe he does not know that kuna moshi nyuma ambayo tire imejam na inaweza lipuka ikue moto kubwa na amebeba mafuta. So just taking that responsibility, showing somebody the sign, piga on, shida bwana.
Slow down and check.
Slow down, check. Watu wawili watatu wakikuonyesha, you will stop. So not just leaving, unasema huyo mjinga anaendesha gari na pengine ajui
yake italipuka.
So that responsibility, and letting our children singing about it. I wish we can be a singing nation like we used to be, where people are singing about dereva chunga maisha. You're telling people maneno ya ukulima, maneno ya ajali, maneno ya nini, so that people can be able to take up these issues and own them. And they know that it is not a government issue, it's about your life.
True. Daktari, I think at this point I would like us to take a short break.
Okay.
We still have issues to talk about. We still talk about our infrastructure. Because now that's the other element of how we can approach and understand this problem of road accidents on our roads. So that we come and talk about that after this short break. Then after that we can talk about now, our solutions going forward. What do we do? Because I know you have some insight about, other countries that have tried to minimize on these road traffic accidents. We'll also talk about that. But now, chitab kolenjin kibendi gimunye ngasartane nwachente tutete bai kwenye Emet. Ibwati ligimiten studio ak Daktari Isaac Kalua Green. Inendet ko agenge en biik chetindo maget neo missing nebo konet biikab emet akobo boisietab ortinwek chok en oret noton nekirindoi nyasutik ak kabetetab sobonwek. Taban ak noton kora ko inendet ko chi netindo chomyet neo missing nebo ribetab itondoab emet. Kou noton kibendi kimuny kasarta nenwach kiwekse nematyan ketestai ak ng'alalet nebo Ikweny Emet, emetab rani kong'eten Kass TV.